Happy Camper Radio, episode 67. Come on, let's go camping. Hello, everybody, and welcome back once again to the Happy Camper Radio Show, the one and only place to be when you're ready to talk camping. Camping is what we're about. Camping is all we talk about. Right in the middle of summer, what better place and better time to get together to have a good conversation about camping. Daniel is here today with his electronics. Hey, Daniel.
Hey.
And I just had to allow you to access the network. Which means that tells me you are up to no good.
Yeah.
I can only imagine
playing the video games.
You're going to play video games while we're trying to do a show. What do you think you are? Camp? Huh?
Exactly.
Well, that's just par for the course. Nothing surprises me when you come walking in the studio. You see anything new?
I don't know if we talked about that as much as I wanted to, but you know, I went out to Utah and I saw a lot of cool sights out there. I forgot to tell you that when we were out there, when we went to Bryce Canyon out there, they had they were rentals. But you know how they have cabin rentals over here on the East Coast, like cabins and stuff?
Right.
They had teepee rentals, and it was like a Native American teepee, and you could stay in there for a couple of nights. So I was like, wow, that's a really cool way to go camping. And
which surprises me. Why on earth didn't you rent a teepee instead of that 5-star hotel that you spent all that money on? Money you will never see again. You could have stayed in a teepee and had something to talk about.
Well, it was only a 3-star, and I think
a 3-star teepee.
Exactly. No, yeah. I kind of wish I would have actually. Now that you're talking about it, but you know, it was 4th of July weekend, and there were a ton of people out there.
Which reminds me, and I forgot to mention this last week. Tell me about this quilt shop that you visited while you were there.
It wasn't a quilt shop.
It was Daniel. I've got the picture. I confiscated the picture. I put it on Facebook, and it's there for all of our listeners to take a look at. You spotted some quilts, and you were beside yourself.
It was a Pioneer Museum next to the Capitol in Utah. And that was a lot. That was really interesting about all that stuff. That
you were drawn right to it.
You want to talk about roughing it? I mean, these people, went hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles into the West, and they didn't know what to expect. And all they had was pretty much the shirt on their back and the materials they had in their wagon, and that was it.
And now the legislators in Utah just need to walk next door and get everything they need right there at the Pioneer shop.
There you go. Exactly.
That's just the way it works.
Well, it's like, I don't know. It's really crazy out there because there's a big difference. I don't know if you've noticed this or not, between the East and the West. Like on the West part of the country, they have different kind of trailers. They have different kind of pop-ups because like the weather out there it's a dry heat and all that stuff. But I'm telling you, out there in the West, everyone has a camper, at least in Utah.
With air conditioning, I'm sure.
No, you don't even, well, I mean, they might, but you don't even need air conditioning because there's always a breeze, and it's a dry heat, and it's not humid. Kind of like today, Skip. Today is one of those rare days in Georgia where there's not that much humidity, and it feels awesome.
It's going to feel better here in just a second because I am going to light our campfire. This is long overdue into this conversation, Daniel. Let's make it official.
There you go.
Everybody pull up their camping chair, their camping recliner, grab a cup of your favorite beverage, your hot chocolate, your Joe, or whatever it may be, because Daniel is in the house.
Yeah.
I am taking the lead, and you, my friends, are part of this great camping conversation. This is the Happy Camper Radio Show. Our phone number is 404-537-CAMP. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at Camp Talker, and add us to your circles on Google+. Of course, you can access any one of our social media sites very simply by going to our homepage, which is www.happycamperradio.com. Make sure you click on the RSS feed button while you're there, and you can subscribe to the show and never miss a single one of our episodes. Daniel, let's shout out to some newcomers this week. And here we go. We have Daddy Kid from Cincinnati, Ohio, who likes us on Facebook, to Rayford Crossing RV Resort in Spring, Texas. You'll love these folks, Daniel. Happy Campers Iceland.
Oh, wow.
I love the name. RV Geeks, and also to Camping Street Europe. And they've all added us to circles this past week on Google+. Thank you all so very much for joining us here and being part of this great Happy Camper Radio family. Daniel, a few days ago, we heard from our friend Gary on the trail.
Oh, really?
This guy, I'm amazed. This guy had to have grown a second set of legs because mine would have been wore out about 600 miles ago.
I know he's going like 20 miles a day averaging right now.
Where does he get his energy?
I don't know. It's just crazy. I mean, that's kind of like a marathon every day, and I kind of, to tell you the truth, I'd kind of be burned out by now. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Appalachian Mountains are really nice and everything, but I'd be tired of it by now probably.
Well, he made it through the 4th of July and just got through about 5 days ago, Waynesboro, Virginia. He's been on the trail for 61 days now and has crossed 857 miles of forest land. And for those folks who have not visited his website, feel free to check it out. All you've got to do is go to our homepage, which is happycamperradio.com, and you'll see it right there on the front page. Gary Sizer hikes the Appalachian Trail. Just click on the link that says, "Where's the next shelter?" And you can read his whole story from start to finish. He's been going, like I say, 800 and some odd days now. The latest picture he posted, Daniel, is awesome. Check out this one of the James River.
Oh, yeah, that's up in Virginia. That goes through Norfolk, where I was stationed up in the Navy.
Talk about the mountains and the rolling hills. Wow. I am absolutely impressed with this. And he's been taking photographs all along the way. You can even leave a message there for Daniel if you like. He's got some comments. Just feel free to go ahead and put your email address in there, subscribe. It's not a long-term thing. You can log in and, just give Gary a shout-out and let him know that you're thinking about him and checking up on some of his activities. The wild ponies of the Grayson Highlands. I love that picture, too. He's been, I imagine he has one of these devices that he's carrying that are solar-powered that allows him to power his batteries up. Yeah, I've seen that. Unless, he's going into some of these small towns and using a charger and quickly, recharging. Well, he's doing something. Yeah, and whatever he's doing it right.
I'm sure he did a lot of research.
But I'm looking forward to his next phone call here, and we'll get him on the program and definitely have a great conversation with him when he returns. Daniel, we have an interesting topic today, and we're really not going to be talking about tents. We're going to be leaning more into your direction.
Ooh.
And incidentally, I see you've got your pop-up back today.
I did. I just got it out of the shop, and hopefully we'll be selling it to Deidre's aunt pretty soon.
Just because I work overnights and I'm a walking zombie in the morning, don't think that I didn't look out the window and just happen to catch you backing that trailer into your driveway.
That's it's always interesting when you're backing a trailer up and no one's there to say, "Stop, hold on, turn around."
I remember you asking me this past week. I think Deidre was going to go and pick it up, wasn't she? And,
she
you
was.
needed my assistance to help guide her in.
Exactly.
So and that's what we're going to talk about today on the show.
There we go.
If you are a person who is into camping and you're into the RV thing like Daniel is.
Well, come on, Skip. You had one of those truck things.
Daniel, I was fixing to pay you a compliment.
Okay, all right. I'll wait. I'll wait.
But if you're a camper, and there's nothing wrong with this, because if you're into the RV thing, and some people do live on the road. Mm-hmm. My hat's off to the senior citizens, who have been camping all their lives and finally decided, well, I'm going to go ahead and sell the house, sell the car, and we're going to get a big motorhome, and we're going to travel from place to place. I would love to be in your shoes. I still would take a tent along and keep it tucked away because I would have to. I would
Oh,
just get
boy.
that desire every now and then to come on out and set it up and climb into a sleeping bag. That's just it's in my blood, Daniel.
Can I say something about that? So Deidre was watching Hulu the other day. She was watching a TV show, Sleepy Hollow or something, right?
Okay.
And I saw a commercial, and it was a commercial for a car, and it was like, oh, I love to dance. So they were in the middle of the woods. I don't know if anyone's seen this commercial, but they were in the middle of the woods. They had a tent, and then they had a disco ball up in the trees, and the disco ball was going around in circles, and they were dancing around. And all I could think of was, what would Skip think about these campers if they were next to him, dancing around with a disco ball and music blaring outside their car?
One of two things would happen. Either they would pack up and leave, or I would pack up and leave.
I just thought that was hilarious.
And I would leave you right there with them, Daniel, because I could just see you getting into the entertainment aspect of it all.
I am a dancer.
All right, but yeah. Anyway, if you have an RV, a motorhome, a pop-up camper, and in my case here, I had a truck camper. You sometimes have to be in a position where you know how to back that camper up into a parking spot and do it without hitting anything.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the truck camper was not really a challenge because, you know, it's like you backing your truck up anywhere else you go. The only problem, you have visibility
Yeah, there's
issues.
blind spots.
I had a neighbor that gave to me, and this is going to make some people's mouths water. I'm talking people who would just love to have one of these devices, but can't because they are astronomically expensive. And that is a backup television monitor that you have inside the cab of your truck or whatever vehicle you're driving. And there is a camera mounted on the back of your rig.
Yeah,
you can monitor like 5 to 6 lanes of traffic on a major highway.
Oh, wow.
They're very wide angled, and it really saves you a lot of effort and a lot of trouble if by chance you are by yourself and you wind up in a situation where you have to back up and you do not have that visibility that you need. They come in real handy. But, you know, this was a promotional product, believe it or not. I am not lying to anybody here. He didn't know what to do with it, and it was before I ended up buying my rig that I put on my truck. And I said, well, if I find a use for it, sure, no problem. And the moment I bought my brand new truck camper, I went ahead and took the day to wire this in. And it was a fantastic piece of equipment that was added to my camping supply. And I used it loyally anytime that I went out camping. And I had that pop-up camper on the back of my truck.
Well, I know nowadays they have these cars that have backup cameras already installed, and that's always a good thing.
Yeah, but, and that is, you know, it's an added feature that I'm sure you are paying for, that whatever you do purchase your vehicle. But if in absence of one of those, Daniel, yes, it's important that you have somebody there to help guide you in, because it can be a little bit of a challenge. And for me, it was in some cases, because even though I had the camper on top of my pickup truck, anytime I went somewhere, I always carried one of these little U-Haul trailers behind me.
Oh, really?
And most of the time it was loaded with firewood.
Oh, boy.
Now, you don't move firewood, but on the other hand, I was always camping somewhere in close proximity to where I live. So I really didn't have the need to worry about moving these little creatures that they're so concerned about taking into other regions of the country. So I would have those on there. I would have some additional equipment, you know, my camping chairs, because the pop-up camper, not the pop-up camper, but the truck camper that I've had on my truck really didn't have no storage space. Yeah. If I wanted to carry anything with me, it would sit right there on the floor.
Okay.
And if I didn't have that the U-Haul trailer to go behind it, then that's exactly where everything would be sitting. So I carried that. I carried my firewood. But still, when I arrived at my destination, I had to back into a spot.
Right.
And you know me, I have been a loyal camper, and I have camped by myself My wife, I told you, a long time ago, she only went with me one time.
Mm-hmm.
The girls went every now and then, but they were way too young to actually step out of the vehicle and give me guidance that I needed to back into a spot.
Mm-hmm.
So how long have you been backing up your pop-up camper? And tell us your experience, because I'm going to tell you, I'll go into my conversation a little bit further in depth here in a second.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, basically, ever since we got our pop-up, I've been the one to back it up, and it's really a challenge. You really got to think of it in a different way. Basically, the best way that I can tell you to back up a trailer or a pop-up is what you want to do is you want to put your hand on the bottom of the wheel. If you want to go right, you turn your wheel to the right. If you want to go left, you turn your wheel to the right or the left. Because if you put your hand on the bottom of the steering wheel, if you turn your hand to the right, it'll go left. If you turn your hand to the right, it'll go left. And it's completely opposite. And it's a good way to start backing up. Sometimes you have to get in, then pull out a little bit, because you don't want to get your trailer into a pinch or anything. So basically, all you want to do is, put your hand on the bottom of the steering wheel, right or left, go back. It's always helpful if you have, someone behind you telling you, left, right, whatever. But just slowly do it in and out, and after a while you get a hang of it. But I mean, there's a lot more to towing than just backing up. There's understanding towing capacity, hitch. I don't know if you knew this or not, Skip, but like there's different balls. Those balls that you put the trailers on.
Right.
They're weighted for different weight amounts. There's nowadays all trailers come with electronic brakes. You know how you plug in your lights to your from your car to your trailer?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a cord in there that connects to the electronic brakes, and that helps you stop when you're on the road, and it helps alleviate some of the pressure that is associated with your braking system. And you got to think about weight distribution. There's I know when you're towing a bigger vehicle, they have what is called sway bars. So when you're towing, and if it's like windy or something, you're not all wobbling and weebling from side to side. And believe me, that could get really scary. When we were out in Utah, we saw these 18-wheelers, and they were like 2 and 3 trailers long. And when that was windy, it was going from right to left, and it was really scary. And you want to make sure that you perform maintenance on your car, and you want to make sure that everything's working properly. And you don't want to go fast. You definitely don't want to go fast, because that'll really put some wear and tear on your engine. Usually what the rule of thumb is to go about 10 miles under the speed limit, like 50 to 60 miles an hour, because you're towing a lot of weight, and it's usually not what you're used to. So
that's 50 or 60 miles an hour going forward now, not backing up.
Oh, no.
We probably got a lot of people confused now as it is just talking about this subject matter. On the other hand, we have folks, some tractor-trailer owners and operators who have been doing this for years. They're probably laughing at us because they know exactly what they need to do, as well as some people, who have these big motor homes, and they have been backing them up all their lives. And it's very simple. But no, it's not an easy task if you're just getting started. I know it's been some I've had some challenges too, trying to get my travel trailer, not my travel trailer, my utility trailer, backed into a certain spot. And you've got to take your time doing it, and you've got to get the hang of it. And even though I have been doing this for a number of years, and you probably don't even know this, Daniel, there was one time in my life that I did drive a bus.
Oh, wow.
I had a CDL license, which is a commercial driver's license. I don't have that anymore because I'm not interested in doing that kind of thing anymore. But yes, I had to have some moments there where I had to back into some spots and do it right. And you've got that visibility factor, so it's definitely going to take you some time, and it's going to take some practice. The ideal situation, in my opinion, would be if you get a pop-up camper like you have, and you have no experience whatsoever in backing into a spot. If you can find somewhere near you a big open parking lot,
Right.
say it's like the middle of the week, maybe it's your church parking lot,
Right.
where it would be a great place to practice. There are no cars there. You know, you probably need to talk to the pastor or somebody in charge to see if they'll let you do that. In a lot of cases, you know, they will. But that would be a great place to practice. And if you have a helper there to see what you're doing, and maybe even to shoot some videos, you know, that would be an interesting thing to see.
Yeah.
You know, have them take some videos of you backing this in, and you'll probably end up laughing at yourself at the very beginning, but you will eventually get the hang of it.
Well, I know, like, earlier in the year when we went to Callaway Gardens down in South Georgia, they had a lot of pull-through lots, and that's always easy.
That helps.
Yeah, that totally helps. Like, if you're not really used to it and you're kind of sort of uncomfortable with it, they have those pull-through lots. You just pull through there and, you know, unhook the pop-up or the trailer, and you're good to go. So, you know. But, I mean, there's a lot of other things you got to consider with pulling a trailer. You gotta understand that you're not going to get really good gas mileage in your car. And you gotta make sure that everything's plugged in. You know, your lights are working. Remember, we had that ordeal about a year ago or so.
I remember.
Pop-up.
Yes. And,
you know, when you're taking down everything, you got to make sure that all the antennas are down, that the stairs are up, that everything is good to go, hooked up. Because I know on my pop-up, we have these 4 little clips that secures everything down, and you got to make sure that everything's, you know, ready to go before you go. But, you know, I always like to look in my rearview mirror when I'm towing the pop-up and make sure everything's okay and, you know, stuff like that. Because, you know, we have these chains that hook onto the truck, and if heaven forbid something happens, that's like your last line of defense. And you just want to make sure you do everything right, double, triple check, because as far as towing a trailer, you can never be too safe.
You're very, very right about that, Daniel. And if there's one thing I definitely want to point out here to everybody, you know, I don't care how experienced you are in backing up your travel trailer, your motor home, or even a vehicle that has a utility trailer on the back like I have. Wherever you go, especially if you are going to a public or a private campground, make sure that, please, before you do anything, before you back into an area that you're going to be camping in, backing into your lot, please make sure that there are no youngsters running around.
Oh, definitely.
And that would be the most ideal time to have somebody there to stand out and watch exactly what you're doing. Somebody that's going to be in communication with you, that's going to have good eyes, good ears, and can give you signals when to stop. Because we know, Daniel, at a lot of these public campgrounds, kids are there and they are running wild. That's what they're supposed to do. Yeah. You've got to expect that. But you don't want any accidents to happen. You don't want anybody to get run over. And I just got to put it bluntly, Daniel, because I can tell you some horror stories about people just backing out of their driveway without anything attached to their vehicle. And they thought everybody was inside, and somebody was behind the vehicle and ended up getting hit. And, you know, you don't want that to happen. You don't want to turn a good time into a tragedy. So please, wherever you go, I don't care if you're by yourself or if you have 2 or 3 people in your party, make sure that you have some visibility behind you. Make sure there are no people, no children, no animals running around in your path while you are attempting to back your rig into a lot that you're going to be camping at. If it takes you 20 or 30 minutes to back that in there, so be it. I know when I get to my camping destination, I am looking so forward to getting everything set up and just getting into the relaxation mode. It can't happen fast enough, but I am definitely going to take my time to make sure that my camping experience from start to finish is going to be as safe as possible.
Yeah. Well, there's one more thing I want to say. You were talking about, the people who retire and, they want to live their life on the road. And
3 years and counting for me, Daniel.
There you go. Sometimes if you have one of those big trailers, you might have to, upgrade your license to a different, weight capacity, because like the standard license only accounts for maybe a 5,000 pound vehicle or something. But if you're driving one of these Winnebago things, you might have to update your license. So you might want to check into that if you're driving around one of those big Winnebagos and you don't have one of those. You might want to look into upgrading it, so if you get pulled over or something, that nothing happens with the local law enforcement.
I think every state has its own guidelines as far as, what is required of you, depending upon if you're driving a passenger vehicle or you're driving a big rig, whatever the case may be. You definitely would have to make sure that you have the proper licensing.
Yeah.
And again, if you plan on going out and buying a big rig, something that you have never driven before, I would highly encourage you to take some classes, or if there are classes available, I'm sure there are. To make sure that you're going to feel safe and you're going to feel comfortable not only behind the wheel but while you're out on the road with several other people who may be out there on the road with you. So definitely, be safe whatever you do, and if you have the opportunity to get some practice in backing in, pulling out. If you've never done it before, it's a work of art, I can tell you that. And so, like I say, we have some people who have been camping for years that have been doing it for years, and we probably bored them half to death with this episode. But, everybody's got to start somewhere. And it took me time, and some of the people that I'm talking to right now that, like I say, have been doing this for a very long time, they had to start somewhere too. So, it's a learning curve. But it's something that, comes along with whatever you do in the line of camping. And, if you want to have one of those big rigs, or even if you want to pull a utility trailer behind you like I do, it's still going to take a little bit of practice. So take that time and do it right, and be safe about it. It's time now for our featured campground of the week here on the Happy Camper Radio Show. Daniel, I've never camped here before, but I have traveled through this area, and it is absolutely gorgeous, to say the least. We're going to visit the state of Tennessee and take you to the Elkmont Campground this week. It is part of the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, and it is, again, our featured campground of the week. It's located 8 miles from Gatlinburg, Tennessee.
Ooh, I've been there.
Yes, so have I, and I'm dying to go back, too.
I love it there.
Elkmont Campground is the largest and busiest campground in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. It sits at an elevation of 2,150 feet, and the area enjoys a moderate climate characterized by mild winters, hot and humid summers. Wow. And right now is the time, if you love the heat, you'll probably enjoy it there. But one of the good parts about camping up there, Daniel, there is so much forest and there is so much shade. And if you don't believe what I'm saying, all you've got to do is check out their website and look at some of the beautiful pictures. I was in Gatlinburg maybe 20-some years ago. It's been a long time. But when I did go there, the ladies did their thing and I did mine, and I went on a very long, extensive hike.
Okay.
I was young back then, like you, Daniel, and I took advantage of it. And the atmosphere is breathtaking. And so there's always something to do there, and you can check out their website. They've got a whole lot of information, a lot of great amenities at this particular campground: accessible flush toilets, an amphitheater. You can do some bird watching. They've got drinking water, fire rings, flush toilets, a general store close by. Like we say, hiking, wildlife viewing, tent pads, restrooms, and they have got a very large campground, Daniel. And I'm talking about a pretty large one. I think this, if I read here correctly, it's like about 200 RV and tent camping sites at this campground. So it is a large facility. but it's also a great place to be if you want to be a part of the outdoors. And I'm sure you'll see plenty of wildlife out there. I did when I went for the short visit that I was on several years ago. But it's a great place to visit, and it's going to be our featured campground all week long. It's the Elkmont Campground in Tennessee, and it is our featured campground of the week here on the Happy Camper Radio Show. And as always, if you have a campground that you would like Daniel and I to feature on the program, by all means, drop us an email. You can start by me, Skip, S-K-I-P, at happycamperradio.com, or
Daniel at happycamperradio.com.
And make sure you send a link to the campground website. Hopefully they'll have a lot of great pictures and maybe inspire us to visit there sometime soon.
That'd be nice.
Well, Daniel, we had an interesting show today. I hope we had some educational information to pass along.
I hope
maybe
so.
we taught ourselves something, too.
Maybe.
Never had this conversation with you, but I'm glad he was able to do it here on the show. Don't forget, you can catch us online anytime at www.happycamperradio.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at Camp Talker, and add us to your circles on Google+. The Happy Camper Radio Show is a presentation of Skip Huber Productions. I'm Skip. I am a happy camper. Daniel's a happy camper. Woo! And you, my friends, can be a happy camper, too. We'll catch you next week. Bye-bye, everybody.